stop scrolling, because the small golden-colored coin you are looking at may have a much more interesting story than its tiny face value suggests. Welcome back to Old Coins Explorer, the channel where we explore the history, rarity, varieties, and real value hidden inside old coins. Today, we are taking a close look at a fascinating 1993 Argentina 50 centavos coin. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary old coin, but collectors know that small details can sometimes make a big difference. This particular coin features the historic Casa de Tucumán, one of the most important places in Argentine history. The other side displays a huge number 50, the word centavos, and the date 1993. But there is something even more interesting about the 1993 issue. Catalogs recognize different lettering varieties. The example shown in these photographs appears to be the bold letter variety, which is listed by specialists as KM 111.2. So is this coin actually rare, and could it be worth more than its original face value? Stay with me, because in this video we are going to examine its history, design, metal, mintage, variety, condition, and realistic collector value. Let us begin with the basic identification, because knowing exactly what coin you have is the first step in determining its value. The coin shown here is an Argentine 50 centavos coin dated 1993. It belongs to the modern Argentine peso coinage that began circulating in the early 1990s. The Argentine Central Bank records the 50 centavos denomination as being issued beginning on April 10, 1992. The denomination is clearly written as 50 centavos on one side of the coin. Below the denomination, the year 1993 identifies the particular year in which this example was produced. The opposite side features the historic Casa de Tucumán surrounded by important national inscriptions. The coin has a round shape and a reeded edge, which means you can feel small grooves around its circumference. Official specifications give the standard weight as approximately 5.80 grams, with a diameter of about 25.2 millimeters. All of these characteristics strongly confirm that we are looking at an Argentine 1993 50 centavos coin from the early peso series. Metal, color, and physical specifications. One of the first things you probably noticed about this coin is its beautiful golden or yellow bronze appearance. However, this color does not mean that the coin is made of gold. The official composition is aluminium bronze, consisting of approximately 92% copper and 8% aluminium. This copper-rich alloy gives the coin its characteristic yellow-golden appearance when it is in good original condition. Over many years, however, circulation, handling, humidity, oxidation, and environmental exposure can change the surface color. That is why some examples may appear bright yellow, while others can look darker, brownish, or slightly dull. The official weight is approximately 5.80 grams, which is another useful characteristic when authenticating an example. Its diameter is approximately 25.2 millimeters, while its thickness is around 1.8 millimeters. The edge is normally reeded, adding another useful identification feature for collectors. So remember, this is a bronze-colored coin with historical and numismatic interest, not a gold coin whose value should be calculated from the price of gold. Now let us look at the most historically important feature on this coin, the building shown on the reverse side. The building is the Casa Histórica de Tucumán, also known as the Historic House of Independence. This building is extremely important because it is connected directly with Argentina's Declaration of Independence. In 1816, representatives gathered in Tucumán for a national congress during a critical period in Argentine history. On July 9, 1816, the Congress approved the Declaration of Independence from Spanish rule. The historic building therefore represents much more than a simple architectural image on a coin. It symbolizes independence, national identity, freedom, and the creation of an independent Argentine nation. The famous room where the declaration was approved is known as the Salón de la Jura. By placing this historic building on a circulating coin, Argentina gave ordinary people a small reminder of one of the most important events in the nation's history. So when you hold this 1993 coin in your hand, you are not simply holding 50 centavos. You are also holding a miniature representation of an important chapter of Argentine history. Look carefully around the historic building, and you will notice several important inscriptions. At the top, the coin carries the words República Argentina, identifying the nation that issued it. Around the lower portion is the phrase En Union y Libertad. This translates approximately to in union and liberty. The phrase is especially meaningful on this particular coin because the design celebrates the location where Argentine independence was declared. The coin's designers therefore combined the country's name, its national motto, and its historic independence building into a single design. Around the outer edge, you can also see a decorative border made up of numerous small raised beads. These details give the coin a distinctive appearance and help frame the central design. Even though this was a relatively low-denomination circulating coin, considerable thought was put into connecting the artwork with Argentine national history. This is one of the reasons world coin collecting is so fascinating. A coin that once bought an everyday item can later become a small historical artifact that tells a story about an entire country. The 1993 bold letter variety. Now we arrive at one of the most interesting details for collectors of this particular coin, the 1993 lettering varieties. Specialist catalogs distinguish between a fine letter and a bold letter version of the 1993 issue. The fine letter variety is generally catalogued as KM 111.1. The bold letter variety is generally catalogued as KM 111.2. The photographs you provided appear to show the heavier lettering associated with the bold letter version. This means that simply saying 1993 Argentina 50 centavos does not tell the complete story. A collector should also examine the thickness and appearance of the lettering when identifying the exact variety. Catalog references list the 1993 bold letter issue separately from the fine letter issue, making this a genuine recognized numismatic variety. This is a perfect example of why collectors should examine old coins carefully instead of judging them only by their date and denomination. And remember, a recognized variety does not automatically mean an extremely rare coin, but it can make an otherwise ordinary coin more interesting to collectors. Mintage and South African mint connection. Here is another fascinating detail that makes this coin worth discussing. The reported location where the 1993 bold letter issue was produced. Specialist numismatic catalogs identify the 1993 bold letter variety as having a reported mintage of approximately 80 million coins. Catalog information also associates this issue with the South African mint. That means an official Argentine coin could be manufactured outside Argentina and then released as part of Argentina's circulating currency. This may sound surprising, but countries have historically used foreign minting facilities when additional production capacity was needed. The 1993 issue is therefore interesting not only because of its Argentine design, but also because of its international production story. However, there is an important point that every serious coin collector should understand. A reported mintage of around 80 million means this particular variety should not automatically be described as an extremely rare coin. It is better to describe it as a recognized 1993 variety with historical interest and collector appeal. So if you own one of these coins, don't clean it or damage it in an attempt to make it look newer. Preserving its original surfaces is much more important for its potential numismatic interest. Face value versus real collector value. Now we come to the question that every coin owner wants answered. How much is this 1993 Argentina 50 centavos coin actually worth today? First, we need to understand that the original face value and the modern collector value are two completely different things. When this coin was circulating, it had a face value of 50 centavos, and people could use it for ordinary, everyday transactions. Today, however, collectors look at other factors such as the exact variety, condition, rarity, demand, authenticity, and possible mint errors. The 1993 bold letter variety is not generally considered an extremely rare coin because catalog sources report a relatively large mintage of around 80 million pieces. For that reason, An ordinary circulated example should not automatically be advertised as a coin worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Catalog estimates for normal examples are generally in the low dollar range, with better preserved specimens potentially attracting more interest. However, these catalog figures are only guides and should never be treated as a guaranteed selling price. An actual auction result or dealer offer can be higher or lower depending on the coin's grade, originality, and current collector demand. So the real mystery is not simply whether this coin is old. It is whether your particular example has something special that separates it from the millions of ordinary pieces. What could make this coin more valuable? Now let us look at the question that can make a huge difference in the world of coin collecting. What could make this particular 1993 Argentina 50 centavos coin more valuable than a normal example? The first thing to check is the lettering variety, because 1993 was produced in both fine letter and bold letter versions. The second thing is the overall condition of the coin, because collectors usually pay more for examples with sharp details, original surfaces, and very little wear. The third thing to investigate is whether the coin has a genuine mint error, rather than ordinary damage caused after it entered circulation. Possible areas to examine include unusual striking problems, major off-center strikes, significant doubling, or other authentic mint-made abnormalities. But be extremely careful, because scratches, dents, polishing, corrosion, and accidental damage are often incorrectly described online as valuable mint errors. You should also check the coin's weight and diameter against the official specifications, because unusual measurements can sometimes provide an important clue. The reeded edge should also be examined carefully for anything unusual, while remembering that normal wear can make the edge appear less sharp. Another important factor is whether the coin has been cleaned, because harsh cleaning can reduce its appeal to serious collectors even if the coin looks brighter afterward. So if you discover a 1993 50 centavos coin, don't immediately clean it or assume it is worthless. First, examine every detail carefully and compare it with reliable numismatic references. So, after examining the design, date, composition, historical background, variety, mintage, and collector factors, we can finally reveal what makes this coin interesting. This is a 1993 Argentine 50 centavos coin from the early peso era, made from aluminium bronze and featuring the historic Casa de Tucumán. The building connects this small circulating coin to Argentina's Declaration of Independence in 1816, giving it an important historical story behind the artwork. The 1993 date is particularly interesting because collectors recognize both fine letter and bold letter varieties. The example shown in your photographs appears consistent with the bold letter variety, commonly listed as KM 111.2. Specialist references report a mintage of approximately 80 million pieces for this variety, so it should not be called an ultra-rare coin without additional evidence. Its normal collector value is generally modest, but exceptional condition, an authenticated mint error, or another unusual characteristic could make an individual example more desirable. The biggest lesson from this coin is that age alone does not determine value. Variety, condition, rarity, authenticity, and collector demand are all important. So before you spend, sell, clean, or throw away an old coin, take a closer look, because sometimes the smallest details tell the biggest stories. And if you enjoyed this investigation, don't forget to subscribe to Old Coins Explorer, because here we continue exploring old coins, hidden varieties, fascinating history, and the real facts behind the values you see online.